Back with Bobby and JJ Radio. We just spoke with Josh Lawson, and he's the Vice President of Operations for NeedToKnow.com. If you missed any of that, you don't have to cry. You can go to BobbyandJJRadio.com and be a fan of our page. We have our Facebook that you can go to. That's Bobby and JJ Radio on Facebook. Twitter account, Instagram. You can always find our shows that you can download or stream on Mondays on SoundCloud.com, or you can see their beautiful faces on YouTube in a couple weeks here. And our next guest is the Executive Director of the Hispanic Market for Need to Know. That's ND2NO. Her name is Gabriela de la Luz. She's coming from the insurance world, and she's kind of jumped in feet first into this, and she's an excellent marketer, and she's part of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and that's how we've come together. And it's been a blessing to meet Gabriela. She's a really good connector for anyone that's in business, and we really appreciate her coming by today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
That's
for
awesome.
having us.
Absolutely. So, why is the Spanish-speaking side so important for the ND2NO or NeedToKnow.com?
Well, it's actually very important because, for starters, this project was originally supposed to be only in English. Mm-hmm. But knowing, having been a member of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce before, sure, and being familiar with the Asociación de Empresarios Mexicanos, which is all of the businessmen.
Say that 4 times, Bob.
Asociación de Empresarios Mexicanos.
What she said.
Yeah. So, well, basically, it's like all of the businessmen that come from Mexico.
Sure.
Our business, entities. There is a very big demand, especially because what happened with the population in Mexico, right, is that when there was like all of the drug violences, sure, and all that kind of situation, a lot of them needed to come over, sure, and it's kind of like running away from the situation that was not helping them, yeah, in a sense. Actually, it's funny because Henry Flores, I believe it was, mm-hmm, Henry Cisneros, excuse me, he actually called this the Mexodus, because he is calling it the new diaspora with the potential to rival the impact of Cubans had on Miami.
Sure.
So because it's so huge, because the need is so big. And these are people that have a lot of money, they're very well educated. Nowadays in Mexico, mostly the second language is English.
Right.
So they already come very well educated and prepared with their business savvy, etc. So what they needed to do is that they had to prove that they were either employed by a multinational company, right, or they needed to have a valid business plan and enough money to start their own. So they kind of have to prove themselves in that manner to be able to get a special business visa.
Sure. We're actually going to have a show with a immigration lawyer here in the next couple of weeks, and she's going to talk exactly of how this transition or this Mexodus or the Spanish Exodus has to happen, and what is needed, and what you need to file for, and all that kind of stuff. But I'm glad that you bring this up. My wife's family is from La Ciudad Juarez, and so all of her aunts and uncles are, devastated with the violence, but they do have very affluent businesses over there, and they're been trying to come over in droves or with their whole entire family. Little by little, they've all kind of...
Yeah, they give me oranges, so...
Yeah, they're all 37.
Those are probably from the valley, though.
Yeah, that is from the valley. That's the wrong part of Mexico, but it's okay. You can generalize.
That's the side of Mexico, but that's okay. We're close enough. But basically what happens is that there has been the biggest influx of the population where they have gone to actually live,
sure,
is in the area of the Dominion and in Sonterra.
Right. We call it Sonterra.
Exactly. So it's actually funny because I was telling Chantel about the situation where I have a friend of mine that has a teacher that is she's in Reagan High School.
Right.
So they have, their certifications and everything, but they had to actually go through a special training, sure, to deal with culturally with the high end, like what they call fresas,
right,
that go to that school, because culturally it's very different. It's something that they have to, work on dealing with. And
they probably go from a private school in Mexico to a public school in the United States. Is a huge culture shock.
Well, not only that, but some of the people that are coming over, they're even requesting the visas like for their housemates and everything, sure, because they're like part of the same nucleus. So they're already used to being raised in a certain manner. And then, you see these kids with their little, Porsches and whatever in the right, high school. And that's not as usual here.
I don't think people understand how many people from Mexico live in the Dominion, or like you said, Sonterra, or there's just a ton. We're looking at real estate sales. We go to the
over
property,
50%.
Yeah, we go to the property forecast of houses that are bought in the Dominion. It's over 50% cash. Mm-hmm. Why is it cash? Is because it's very hard for Mexican nationals to get loans, and so unfortunately, there's a bunch of unrecorded sales that we don't really look at because they're all cash deals. So I don't think they realize how affluent that the Mexican population is in these higher end.
Can you talk about some of the
neighborhoods,
the statistics for the population, for the Mexican population coming?
Well, actually, as of a year ago, they had said, and that's kind of lowballing it, that there was like just 50,000 residents that had already become permanent residents. And I'm talking about, that they're here legally because of those business visas and all that kind of thing. But that is, that is expected, because I haven't seen the absolute latest, but I know that it's at least doubled so far, and especially with the influence of the Asociación de Empresarios Mexicanos and everything that they're bringing to the table each time, as each quarter goes by. We were actually talking to a business that I think they have pizza chains in Mexico or something like that, and they're actually going to be opening up 4, of those chains here, in this area, and they're all Mexican owned, and there's names that I haven't ever heard of, but I mean. We're here to avoid
Taco Torte's franchise here. They're from Juarez. I mean, there's a lot of franchisees. Pollo Locos from Mexico. There's a bunch of just franchises that are spilling over because they're making, like you said, they're creating their brands to be international companies so that they can be you living here and having businesses in Mexico, and so it's kind of really pulling them to both sides of the border. San Antonio and Houston being the two main hubs for a lot of the people that are coming out of Mexico, just because there's a lot of direct flights into Mexico where they can still nourish and have their business over there and still have their family safe here in the United States.
Exactly. So all of these business owners that have come with their families, they obviously have certain needs.
Sure.
And they, there was a realtor that I was actually talking to. We're going to be having an ad for him in English and Spanish in the Dominion and in Sonterra.
Sure.
And he felt that it was like his calling that he needed to come to the States and help with real estate specifically in this case, because he had a lot of friends that came when, the mortgage situation was bad and that, people didn't know who to go to and they got a bad deal and they didn't even know where to start.
Right.
So one of the things is that we're looking at is that, this is a perfect avenue because this is going to give them a source to know where to look, even if they don't all live here. Sometimes they live part of the year here. Sometimes they go back, or sometimes they have relatives that are trying to come from over there now and join them over here.
Sure.
So they need to have a point of reference. So this is what we're going to be able to provide for them.
So how are people from Mexico going to hear about Need to Know?
Actually, we're starting a very good, aggressive campaign with all of the billboards and magazines and all kinds of situations. But we are already in the talks about doing billboards in Mexico, and it's going to be for different industries. We're actually going to be having the way that Need to Know is built is that it started as let me rephrase that. The residents that are in the affluent communities are going to have access to a bunch of different categories. There's going to be attorneys, there's going to be real estate, there's going to be restaurants, etc. However, we're also going to have the industry portals. So one of those that's so huge happens to be the real estate one. So there's going to be one that's going to be, Need to Know Bienes Raíces. So we're actually going to build billboards that are going to be posted, in different parts of the major cities in Mexico so that people have reference to that. And then also the people here can actually send those links to get those references as well.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Gabriela de la Luz. She's Executive Director of the Hispanic Market for Need to Know. That's nd2no.com. We're talking everything Need to Know, all the different portals and everything that this website will have. So Gabriela, I know that you talk about, so you were going to be directing a lot of this information to the Hispanic market in billboards, but also in direct mail. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so it's really going to have a big concentrated net on that Spanish-speaking community. And I don't know that if people realize that there's really not a lot of stuff in Spanish online for people. They usually go to Google. They usually try to find what they can find, but it's not really out there for them.
Well, the difference is I actually did an experiment, and I was showing Josh yesterday that I go into Google and I'll put like real estate, residential, and then I'll put zip code 78257. That's the closest there to the Dominion.
Right.
So if you look for that specifically, there's like 403,000 hits.
That's it?
For just that zip code alone for that, and I even customized it to residential. I didn't even put just general,
Yeah.
And so basically what we're doing is that it's not just advertising.
Sure.
It's something that's setting you apart.
Right.
And, unless, most of the business owners don't want to get stuck into the whole bunch of 403,000.
Sure.
Or whatever that category is. So that's one of the things that we're bringing. It's the exclusivity. And I've worked with a lot of Mexican nationals and everything, and I know that they're very discriminating as far as what they like and what they don't like.
Absolutely.
And so this is something that's going to be easy for them.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to be in the Dominion magazine. We're going to be, we spoke with Tomas to do the luxury magazine. We're going to be in the following volumes on.
Right.
And we're going to be doing the Homeowners Association mail-outs. We're going to be doing emails. We will be doing the Encore magazine.
And Explorer magazine.
Explorer magazine for the Hill Country. I mean, we're going to be all over the place. Plus,
Sure.
of course, we're doing Radio with You. We're just going to be,
Right.
our Facebook page is awesome because we haven't even officially launched yet, and we have like almost 600 likes already, and we haven't even done any boost or anything.
Right. That's just word of mouth.
That's just word of mouth.
Yeah.
Because the need is there.
Yeah, and I'm just telling you that I think with the Hispanic market it's going to be a lot bigger or more prevalent because there's nothing out there for them.
Exactly.
There's nothing out there for people from Mexico. There's nothing out there for people from that speak different languages, period. They don't know where to go. They usually just depend on referrals on their own. But this is going to be kind of a hub. This should be more of a hub for them than anyone else, I feel, because they're in a country that they're not, really from. And this is going to really help them direct them to who they need to talk to. But I do appreciate you guys coming by today. This is some really great information. If you want to get a hold of Gabriela de la Luz, you can call her at 210-744-2297. Again, that's 210-744-2297. Or you can email her at gabrieladelaluz@nd2no.com. That's nd2no.com. This website will be launched here pretty soon. Make sure you check it out. We're going to take a quick break. Be back with Warren Beamer. He's the executive director of the community outreach programs. Do not move an inch. Do not touch that dial. It's Bobby and JJ Radio.